Hello everybody, welcome to Blyroom Productions. I'm Dez, and this week is the first week of October. Yay! Halloween! Woohoo! Cool stuff, creepy things, costumes, and funness. Yay! So, as such, I decided to make all the videos for this month kind of Halloween themed, lots of classic horror and just fun Halloween tropes and whatnot will be the subject of this month's videos. So to start things off, I decided I'd start with Frankenstein, or rather, the Frankenstiens Monster. Contrary to popular belief and understanding in pop culture, Frankenstein is not the monster. It is the doctor who created the monster. And in the original book by Mary Shelley, the monster isn't really given a proper name. He's referred to as the wretch and the demon, and at one point he refers to himself as the atom of your labors in a discussion with Dr. Frankenstein. And so, but that's really the closest he gets to having a proper name. He isn't really given one at all. And so, along with this inaccuracy in pop culture, in a lot of movies and other media, there aren't very many literary accurate versions of Frankenstein out there. So I thought I would try and do a slightly more accurate version of Frankenstein in reference to the source material. So that's why he looks very, very different than what you might initially expect him to look like. I also decided to depict a scene, specifically the scene of him initially waking up right after the "it's alive" moment, so to speak. So his first moments of consciousness and such. So that's what was the conceptual idea for this picture. So I start, as I usually do, with a pencil sketch, and you might notice that I am flushing out a full background. I decided, since I was lazy last week, I would do a full background for this piece to push myself and to make things more interesting and more dynamic. I then continued, as I have been these past few weeks, by importing this image onto my computer and putting it onto the GIMP program, very similar to Photoshop, to digitize the rest of the image. I used my Wacom Intuos to do all the line work and pretty much everything digitally, and I decided to try, since of the very specific description that is given of the way that his body looks in the book, I decided to try an interesting little technique for getting the full effect. So in the book he's described as having very tight, thin skin that has a yellowish tint to it, and you can see all the muscle structure and the tendons and things underneath kind of through his skin, giving it this eerie translucentness that kind of just adds a creepy factor to it. And that's why I went through in the initial sketch and did all the muscle structure and the tendons and everything. So to get this effect, what I did was at first I did all the line work, and I did 2 different layers of line art. I did my normal kind of the outline layer of all the main body structures and such, and then I went through on a layer that would go underneath, kind of a lower layer of all the details, all those little tendons and the muscle structures and those little detail lines and whatnot. I then, when I went through and did the coloring layers, I did the muscle structure on its own, as a full kind of that reddish, pinkish tone, and then went in over the top of that, did another layer of this skin, the yellowish kind of color, and I reduced the opacity on that layer so that the muscle and tendon coloration, along with the line detail, would show through it. I also used this same sort of translucent effect. I usually use it for my shading and whatnot. I'll go in and create a new layer and just reduce the opacity of the entire layer to add that shading effect. And I did multiple layers of shading to try and get the right tone of eeriness and the darkness that I wanted in the room, of having him, just awakened in this creepy, eerie, dark place in this creepy, eerie, dark way. And all in all, this picture and this project was pretty fun. I really liked it. Like I said earlier, I really like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and it's a very thought-provoking and interesting story, very philosophical in ways, but then also just a very cool world and creation that she has that has endured for a very long time. And it had lots of renditions and lots of evolutions and such of this character and of the ideas in it. So that about sums it up. I will let you enjoy the rest of this, as I usually do, with some music. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this week's eerie, creepy, Halloween-themed picture. Share it with your friends so they can get in on the action, and leave a comment down below on what you want to see me do in the future. Be sure to follow along on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and support me on Patreon. Remember that for the rest of this year, all the money I make on Patreon will go to disaster relief and recovery for the many different events that have happened throughout this year. Again, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next week.